Guys, what's going on? Give us a 5-5 in the chat, please, if you can hear us. What's going on tonight, guys? This is as you can tell by the title, we're getting into a very much needed, timely topic. Give us. Oh, I just heard something.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
I muted it.
Anyway, yeah, so gaslighting, psyops, are we being duped? Nothing is as it seems. You can tell by the title. This couldn't be a more timely subject to be covering right now because of what's going on. I mean, literally, all I see every day now in this community and even in the global stage is everybody's just pointing fingers at each other right now. No one, everybody's pointing fingers at each other. They're trying to defend their own belief systems. And the problem is that a lot of those belief systems are based off of psyops. You know, we've all been duped on some level. I don't care who you are. We've all fell for something. We got our hopes up over some kind of information. It's just, and we have to, we have to have humility, and we have to admit that we're wrong sometimes. And what we're seeing instead is people pointing fingers, calling each other out and all this stuff. And your information's wrong, my information's right. And then on the global stage, we have the same thing happening in politics and all that stuff. So, yeah, tonight we are joined. Oh, real quick. Well, we're joined by Chiraya Dharma, as you can tell. But real quick, guys, don't forget tickets are on sale for the Secret Space Conference. We are hosting next May 2nd through the 5th. Tickets are available at secretspaceconference.info. That link is below. We'll go over that a little later, all the details for that. But just a reminder, and tickets are $444. It includes 4 days, 12 speakers, all your entire meal plan, and then there is live stream passes available for 111. All that information is on the website. Anyway, welcome to the show, Chiraya. How's it going?
It's going great, guys. Yeah, I'm excited to dig into this, like you said, very much needed topic for us to kind of take the blindfolds off at the next level and be humble and
right. Yeah. So it's very synchronistic how we even ended up talking. It was kind of, this wasn't really a plan. We just recently set this up, and it's kind of perfect timing, like I said, and there's so much to cover and so much that's needed. Actually, I loved your description on your email that you put out. Like, that was perfect. It's exactly, you couldn't have put that you couldn't have said it any better. So why don't you just tell people who you are for the people who may not know, and then let's just jump into it.
Who am I? Yes, that is the question, isn't it?
Who are you?
We should all be asking ourselves that at this time. We're a lot more than we know, a lot more than we remember. Well, in this lifetime here, I'm an author. I've been doing different types of advanced energy healing for over 30 years now. I got an earful from several teachers back in my 20s, back in the late 80s, early 90s, and which set me up to comprehend these things, even though I didn't come out as a teacher of this kind of stuff. I've been holding down more like the spiritual side, like, well, what do we do to respond to whatever it is going on behind the scenes? Because like you said, there's so much of a discrepancy between what people believe that trying to convince people isn't necessarily the easiest or even the smartest thing at any given time. So the spiritual energies coming through me mostly are talking about how do we leverage the power of our own inner connection to source, consciousness, whatever you want to call that, God, love, in order to recalibrate, to heal, to come fully into our self-responsibility. And so I talk about that. I write about it. I do workshops on it. I do energy clearings. And I'm also very fascinated by the manifesting and how we leverage the power of our consciousness to direct ourselves where we want to go. So all of this to me has bearing on everything from the personal level of our own private lives to our communities, our families, our city, state, whatever you want to call it, our world, even our galaxy and our universe. And we are expanding to being planetary stewards at this point. So a lot of what I'm bringing is helping us kind of rub the sleep out of our eyes and get ready to step up to that next level together.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, exactly. Rub the sleep out of your eyes, take the blinders off, like you said. And unfortunately, some of that isn't our fault. You know, we've grown up in this world on this planet that's designed to suppress us and program us and steer us away from what it means to be human, and never allows us to tap into our true potential. You know, the whole nine yards. And what comes along with that is the psyops, the psychological operations that we've all been tricked by. And so if you want to explain, because it's fun, we just take this stuff for granted, right? But then I'll say psyop, and then somebody in the comments will be like, "What's a psyop? I've never heard of that before." And then you have to explain to them. Then we have to remember, not everybody is aware of what a psyop actually is. So if you wouldn't mind breaking that down before we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting, because that's exactly what got us talking, because I wanted to do more to help educate people. If you don't know you're being played, how are you going to get yourself out of it? You know? And so psyop is basically like you said, a psychological operation. It's let's just call it a protocol or a tactic. Which one would you guys call it? In psychological warfare, a psychological operation would be a strategy or a protocol, perhaps, in that set of knowledge, if you will. And they could be positive or they could be negative. Really, a psychological operation from the point of view of manifesting or spirit, maybe we would call them affirmations, or reprogramming, or hypnosis. Right? Like, it all has a positive aspect to it if you want it to, but usually when we're talking about a psychological operation, it's leveraging how our consciousness works and leveraging how we create reality through our thoughts, our feelings, our words, and then that lead to deeds that then leads to more and more and more of the same happening. So there's nefarious beings, people who want to control and manipulate others, who utilize that knowledge against people, and in order to steer culture. So instead of having to get out there with guns and force, they can be on the beach, because their media campaign is programming everyone's minds, and then everyone's automatically like, "Oh, we better do that then." And then not only that, then they start self-monitoring each other. And those guys are just laughing all the way to the bank. So it's brilliant. I mean, you got to it's like some genius stuff going on here. You got to admit, but not in a way that we wish to be subjected to anymore. Those of us who are listening to this kind of material, we're kind of like, no, thank you. We're not into this anymore.
It is genius, because they know us better than we know ourselves. There's been studies done, like I said, they steer us away from what it means to be human. While in the meantime, they're behind the scenes, studying us, breaking, they know us better energetically, physically, what we're capable of, our consciousness, all that stuff. And they use psychological manipulation to manipulate us. And it's genius though, because it's genius because it's so well thought out, and they basically infiltrated every level of our infrastructure, all of it. So it's like, there's no, like, where do you turn at this point?
Right. Well, they use psychological manipulation on each other, like their own children, their own people in their clan. I mean, lots of trauma-based stuff,
MK Ultra. Yeah.
Yeah. In order to leverage our creativity and our source connection in a negative way that's towards their agendas, which is really the crux of the biscuit, if you will, because what that basically means is, when we decide to take up the mantle of our own consciousness and our own creativity and steer it where we want it to go, then that can't really affect us anymore at a certain point. And it's building towards us liberating ourselves from being at the mercy of those types of things, because we are that powerful, and that is how our consciousness is designed. So from a higher vantage point, we can look at it as a worthy opponent that is teaching us to become stronger, wiser, more discerning. And it's a really hard lesson. It's not fun. I'm not saying I like it or anything, but we can at least take the benefit of it and get stronger and get smarter in terms of utilizing what we have.
Yeah, admitting, like, just being able to admit that you might have been fooled or tricked or duped or whatever. That's where the growth comes. Admitting, being able to admit that, have the humility to self-correct, come out and say, guys, listen, I was wrong. I know I've been talking about this. I put my heart and soul into this information. Turns out it was wrong, or whatever the case may be. And there's so much growth in that. And it's not, you shouldn't be embarrassed to do that. Actually, people will respect that, because quietly behind the scenes, all these other people are thinking the same things, and they feel kind of stupid sometimes. And we don't want to admit that. But if you can get to the point where you have no problem admitting being wrong, it's a perfect tool to have to navigate through these times. But can we give an example, like on the world stage, of what a psyop is? Like what would you consider to be a psyop?
Oh my God, where do we start?
The whole world's a psyop. I mean, ultimately, if you want to,
he said the whole world's a psyop. Yeah.
Everything that's mainstream, you could say, is a psyop, because our world is that controlled, that like all of education, the news, you know, like the institutions, they're all psyops. Because think about it, everything they're teaching you, everything they're being taught is like 90% or more lies. And it's it's not just by an accident, you know, like it isn't just like, oh, whoops, we accidentally told you all these lies. No, it's done very much on purpose for psychological reasons, to manipulate the masses. But the news is like the most obvious, you know, your face form of a psyop.
Well, yeah, and like I just meant an example, like, okay, they'll fabricate a war, right, or some type of war scenario that might not even necessarily be true at all. It might not be based in reality at all. You know, they're funding both sides of it, whatever's happening, but they're pumping out that fear. They're giving you this false narratives, which, by the way, the news is like literally being proven. It's being proven daily now that they're lying. They're getting caught using recycled photos. Some of the information they're putting out is like the whole Russian collusion with Trump and all that stuff. We're finding out that was a total scam, and that was a massive. They had the whole world, they had the whole world distracted by that.
And a lot of times they'll literally come out later and go, "Oh, whoops, that thing we told you a year ago or 2 years ago or whenever wasn't exactly true." But it's like no one sees the redaction. No one sees oh, hey, we were wrong. Everyone just remembers
because it's like on the back page of a newspaper or something.
Yeah, or very few people, and then the damage is already done. And this is, you know, they don't care. Like, it's meant to be that way. They put out the big news, all the people that are susceptible to believing that, or the people that, and then they know the people that are going to be against it they're going to get them riled up too. So they cause this big war between both sides. They play, like you said, they kind of play both sides.
Yeah.
And then no one looks behind the curtain to see like who's giving us this news, what's their agenda, you know, what's really going on here. You know, very few people do that.
It's like that quote. I'm just trying to find that quote. Here it is. Engage people with what they expect. It's what they're able to discern and confirms their projections. It settles them into predictable patterns of response, occupying their minds while you wait for the extraordinary moment, that which they cannot anticipate. So that's what Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War. Yeah, this is very studied, calculated stuff.
Yeah.
Here. And like you said, they're trying to push, get as many people as possible, like flinging mud at the wall, trying to get as many people as possible to take certain actions before everybody else finds out. You know, just indiscriminately almost at this point, you could say.
Yeah, like
a prime example would be that the term conspiracy theory, right? That term was a psyop. I mean, it was in and of itself. They had to come up. I believe it was in Watergate, if I remember correctly. They literally coined that phrase in order to.
Before Watergate, actually.
Okay.
It was the Kennedy assassination.
JFK assassination. Too many people were questioning it. Too many people were seeing it didn't add up, the official explanation. And they had to squash it. They were like, we can't have the truth getting out, you know. It was a CIA created term, and then pushed through the media, which the CIA controls basically. So they, you know, to to put a derogatory spin on anyone questioning the official narrative. So, oh, you're crazy, or you're just a weirdo, or whatever. And no one wanted to be that, so everyone stayed away from questioning. Everyone's like, oh, I can't be a conspiracy theory. It becomes this, negative label for really all you're doing is critically thinking and using your own discernment.
Oh, gaslighting.
And it's ever since it's been used.
Well,
and obviously we see how effective it's been.
Were you did you want to finish your thought on that, or did he cover most of it?
Yeah, sorry.
What you're describing is perfect. It's gaslighting. That's, one example of gaslighting, to where that's another term we ought to get familiar with. It's like,
yeah, go ahead and break that down, because I honestly
is a psyop. That's what gaslighting is.
Yeah. The first time I heard the term gaslighting, I didn't know what it meant. So would you mind breaking that down for the listeners also who might not know? I want to break this down to anybody new coming in. We forget that there's new people waking up every day, and we can't just leave them in the dust.
Yeah. So what I wrote is it's a form of, and there's a lot of other people, you can look up definitions and see it from numerous perspectives because it's right out there. It's a form of psychological manipulation using lying and deception to make someone question their own perception of reality and eventually their sanity. So it's a very cruel tactic. I suppose there are people who could be gaslighting others unintentionally out of their own unhealed traumas. Like they don't know they're doing it. They don't know they're saying a lie to protect themselves and make the other person think something else happened. There's that level where it's like people doing it to people out of unconsciousness. And then there's another level of people doing it on purpose to try to suppress and divert the truth, like what you're saying. And yeah, if people start, then they're like, wait a second, do I know what I'm talking about? They start questioning their own sanity and their own perception of reality. Because so many people are coming out saying, no, now that's not right at all. It's something completely opposite is happening. And they're over here believing these lies. And you're over here going, something's not adding up exactly.
Right.
But they switch off their eardrum. Like they don't even want to hear it after a certain point. If they think, oh my gosh, it's that, you're part of that camp over there, I'm not going to listen to you. And I'm going over here because I want to go where the truth is. So they won't even.
You shut out any new information, but I like what you said, how it's kind of unconscious sometimes. And that goes from people in the media all the way down to personal relationships. Like you said, unhealed traumas it's a perfect example, right? But sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it, especially whenever you're like a news anchor or somebody, and you are just so used to going through the motions and you don't even know what you're doing anymore. You're just reporting this stuff and you start buying into the psyop itself. And so they're like unconsciously doing it. They don't even realize that they're doing it at some point. Some people, I really do think that's the case. And I have seen it in personal relationships too, where I'm like, okay, this person actually isn't as bad of a person that somebody else might think they are. They just have some healing that needs to be addressed. And that this is like a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the word you used, the word correction before. And so I really, I know that we all have the ability to self-correct. And in fact, on that spiritual level, that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to reflect on what we've done, and especially if we're having difficulties with others, to notice how we could have done better and then self-correct, not to judge and blame and shame ourselves, but to tell the truth. To tell the truth about what actually happened and where we might have made a mistake and where our hurts might have caused us to say or do things that we wouldn't have otherwise said or done. But that takes, because of the psychological manipulation and trauma that's gone on, people are even afraid to do that because they think they're going to be shamed, blamed, rejected, scapegoated, kicked out, blackballed, everything else. So it's like the psychological pressure to do those things is strong because of the milieu that we're talking about, that the culture itself has accumulated.
Yeah, exactly. And a perfect example of gaslighting on a larger scale is promising us that there's going to be an end to this virus, and that all you have to do is get the shot and it's going to be over, back to
Carrot on
normal.
a stick.
That is absolutely lying through their teeth. They know that's a psyop in the making. That is gaslighting by definition. They are telling you a lie to make you do something, make you believe something that is actually the farthest thing from reality.
Which is the very thing that whole reason that whole operation got set up to begin with, was for that end, for this, which probably won't go into tonight, but
Problem, reaction, solution. They created the problem, the reaction happens, and then they go, oh, the solution is the vaccine, which is what they wanted, they wanted in the first place, or the other, communism, the other agendas. But they had to create a problem so that we would allow the solution or accept the solution.
And that is something very important, because some of these guys they think that means we're doing it by our free will. And I'm here to tell you that I don't think that's free will.
No.
I've had a few conversations with the kids upstairs, like, if you are lied to, deceived, tricked, fooled, pressured, coerced, strong-armed, bullied into making the decision by people who, like you said earlier, know you better than you know yourself for their own nefarious purposes, is that free will? I don't think that counts.
They're manipulating our free will. They're abusing our free will. So yes, we all have free will. We're all responsible ultimately for our own choices, and we're all making our own choices, but it's being manipulated because we're being taken advantage. We're only being taught certain things for an agenda. We're being kept, like I said before, the whole world's a psyop. So from day one, we're kept in this level, and then they do things like that where they create a problem, and then they go, oh, you have to do this for the solution, and then out of fear or out of feeling like we have no other choice, people buy into it. So it's a whole manipulation of people's free will, even though technically they still have the free will, and you are making the choice and you are responsible for it. But it's,
well, they do is they want you to think that it's your decision, even though they're
which ultimately it is, but it's really the decision that they want
you to think it's a good idea, and that like you're doing a good thing. We know
you're
that
being deceived.
It's called railroading, right? They're railroading people into a certain course of action. Like these choices, it's like,
and if you're not awake, and if you're not on a certain level, then you're going to buy into it, and you're going to think you're doing the right thing, or think and that's just basic human nature and psychology on a certain level, until you become awake and more of a sovereign being that truly thinks for themselves and truly makes their own choices for your own best interests, without being told by the news or a huge institution, and then just blindly following it, which is what a lot of people do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say they said in that Project Veritas leak, they got one of the doctors or scientists. I don't even know who these people actually were, but
the HHS woman who was taking footage of a doctor speaking.
The doctor, and he specifically said their goal is to inconvenience the people into getting the.
That's exactly.
And we have to be careful what we say now, because YouTube put out a email saying that they are removing all channels that did even mention the V. So we might be. This one might be going up on Rumble. I think that might be specifically to target the Project Veritas channel. But were you going to add something to that, Chiraya? I thought.
That was a different guy. That was the number 2 of that Project Veritas series. And if people hadn't seen it yet, they might want to check it out. That was a different guy. He was a marketing guy or something, or a scientist. I'm not sure which one, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
they know. So even the employees, some of them know exactly what they're doing it for, but they feel stuck, and
Well, they're afraid. And then a lot of people are being paid. Okay, so here let's talk about that. We finally have actual proof that Biden is performing on a stage, in a set. Like the photos were leaked. I mean, mainstream was even questioning these photos. They're like, okay, he's on a set, but why? that's the question. Like, it's not like we're just some conspiracy theorists. Like, it's not like we're a conspiracy theorist just claiming this. It's proved now. Okay, they know he's on a set. So that means that all the media, all the reporters, all the cameramen, the nurses, the guy who's playing Biden, all of these people are paid actors. They're all in on it. They're all have to be paid, because you mean to tell me somebody in that room isn't going to, like, okay, what's going on here? They're not going to start asking questions and want to blow the whistle on it. No, they're being silenced. And I could tell you're getting ready to, you want to add to that. Sure.
The whole thing is just so freaking absurd. I mean, I started like months ago, I was looking at these photographs of him back like however many years ago. And this dude who's up there now, I'm like, hello. I'm like, people, this is not the same human being.
Not the same person.
It's not. Yeah. There's not. No amount of facial surgery can change this.
Did you see the photo, side by side photos of his first shot? His like arm had like no hair on it, and then this one now it's like super hairy.
Yeah, and it's dark
like,
hair.
Oh, wow.
It's dark hair. It doesn't even match like his. It should be gray,
it's a completely different arm. Yeah, it's a completely different person.
It's almost if they're trying to tip everyone off. I mean, some people think it's a white hat operation to just like poke everybody. It's like, come on. We really want you guys to get it here.
I honestly think it very well could be.
It could be. And it actually, I'm glad they're doing it that way, because now I was able to take those photos and send them to my family and be like, guys, just so you're aware of the illusion we're living, look at this. It doesn't matter why. I just want you to know that nothing is as it seems. And then we have videos of like their mask flapping off their neck, and like you can tell they're wearing masks.
Like a tab by his ear. It's like
on the ear.
A mask.
There's just so much more going on that we may never know, but we also shouldn't give our power away to it. I mean, and we don't want to break it down too much because it's all an illusion, right? And there's more important things to be focused on, but it's also good to know, because you need to see what's happening before you need to know your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to, humanity is evidently, we're at a juncture where we're being asked to see how bad it could get, and to begin to just stand up and say, no, thank you. We want to do it a different way. Like humanity needs to take that step, because if somebody just comes in and saves the day, then how are they ever going to take responsibility themselves? It's kind of like a child learning, how to even just ride a bike or something like that. You got to take the frickin' training wheels off at a certain point. You might skin your knee, but it's time, it's right. Time for humanity to comprehend what has been going on in the background. And to, not just, we're trained, even especially like in the spiritual community, we're trained to focus on the good, to imagine what we want to create, to be in a high vibe, to be love and light and joy, which is all absolutely crucial and so important. But if simultaneously we're in denial of some real bad things going on, you're going to always know. There's always going to be something inside of you that feels off. And that off feeling is actually that cognitive dissonance, is because some part of you knows something's not right. And that lowers your vibration. So we actually have to face the truth in order to aspire.
Right. Well,
living in willful ignorance and denial is not living in true light.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what we're supposed to. But that's what a lot of new age people and spiritual, they think they have to literally live in denial of what's really going on, because then they're gonna, I want to manifest. I don't want to put my energy into that and manifest. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
It's a psyop.
Exactly.
And there is a positive use of denial. So the positive use of denial is, I see clearly what the contrast is. I see the problem. I'm not denying there's a problem, but I'm denying that I'm going to participate in it anymore.
Yeah, bingo.
It's coming from knowledge and awareness and wisdom, rather than just like, I don't want to look at that because I'm afraid.
Well, it's really, yeah, you nailed it. One's based out of fear,
Right.
and you're trying to run away from something, and one's based in love, and
Like
you're
I
making a choice, but you're not running away from something out of fear.
a perfect example of that, Aaron, is that okay, we know what's going on in Australia right now. Like we can do 5 episodes on that alone. It's unreal actually. But I mean, and people are sending me videos all day long. They're popping up all day long. Some of it's horrible. You know, at some point, I don't want to look at those videos anymore. I know what's going on. I see what's going on. And I'm deciding like I'm not putting my energy into that. That's no longer feeding my vibration. It's only lowering my vibration to keep giving my energy. I get it. I see what's going on. I don't need to be, it doesn't need to be like proven to me every day, you know?
Yeah.
We don't want to wallow in it. Like it's middle path. It's like we're aware of it. We leverage it, but we don't sit there and whine about it all day long, because then that's going to take us down.
Well, and you also become an alarmist.
Exactly.
If you're like, oh my God, look at this, and you're constantly just flipping out and like emotionally reacting to these situations and giving your power and then like sharing it out to everybody, you know, is that actually having a positive effect or not?
And then all of a sudden you shared it out and then you read from a spoof. This is a spoof site. Have you seen those ones that are like, this is like, they literally are making news-like stories that look absolutely real, except for this tiny thing that says this is a parody. And then after the fact, people just send it to 1,000 people and they're like, oh dear.
Oh yeah. I've had to do that in the past. You know, you share something that you realize, oh shit, that was fake. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that now. The infiltrators in the movement, at all levels, in the Q movement, the UFO community, the spiritual community, on the world stage, everywhere. There's infiltrators everywhere. We don't exactly know why, but I do know that it's causing division, and that's by design. Divide and conquer, you know. And you know, you have contradicting information. You have all of these, like on Telegram alone, just all of these fake Telegram accounts that are apparently politicians and celebrities and some of these like high level people that turn out to be total fraud accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers, people subscribing, and you have who knows behind that account putting out information that is just like they're gaslighting their followers, basically. It's hopium. They're giving them dates that don't, the countdowns to something that never happens, or a date that never manifests, or whatever it may be. Or they're giving you information like we've already won, so that we become complacent, you know, stuff like that. And it's just tricky. And then you have, like I said earlier, everybody is, instead of dealing with it, whenever you say, hey, this might not be a real account, or this person may not be who you think they are, instead of accepting it and looking into it, we have everybody immediately in denial and pointing fingers. Well, no, you know, I don't have to break it down. You know what I'm getting at. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a time of inner reflection more than ever before. So we have the opportunity to really begin to anytime we get information, or we're feeling into a person, or starting to listen to a channel. I mean, others may have had this too, but I'm even looking at guys who you feel like there's no doubt that this is a good person. And I'm like, what is that person really thinking? Are they lying to me right now? Like, are they telling the truth? Is somebody paying them? What are they doing? You know, to almost the point where I think it's a natural part of the process, you know, but it may be a little crazy making for a second, because our bearings are kind of like, we have absolutely no idea who's who in the zoo, what the heck is going on. And that's also by design. And I mean, the benefit of that is it pushes us within. We don't have anywhere else to go but to our sense of our own connection with spirit, source, God, our high self, whatever you call that. You know, it pushes us to go and look within for the answers, because we got nothing else. It's been so obfuscated that
you don't give your power away to anyone outside of you. Because if you don't do that, it doesn't matter whether whatever information you're reading or following, ends up being a psyop, or you use your discernment with everything, and you don't ever cling or get attached. That's because that's the whole problem basically with what you're saying, is people get so attached to certain things and certain people.
They marry
certain
themselves to those ideas. Yeah.
And all their hope, all their power and hope is put into that narrative or that person or whatever it is. And then when it doesn't pan out the way they think, then they're devastated or they're angry or whatever. And it's because they gave their power away. And this goes, and you could apply this to, so many things in the world. Well, the whole solution to that, like you just nailed it. You go within. You don't give your power away to anything, no matter what. You take in, doesn't mean you like shut out things. You take in everything, and you don't live in denial, and you take in everything. And the more your discernment grows, the more you'll be able to see pretty easily what is real and what's not, and where the lies are, and and then it just naturally you only have to worry about. You won't have to be like freaking out. It's not like, oh, what if this is fake, and what if which is what so many people.
Well, here's the thing.
Oh my God, this is happening.
It's information war. It's information warfare, right? And that's exactly what it is by definition. And it doesn't mean it's true information. And that's what the infiltrators are doing. They want to throw us off. They want to get us to feed our energy into something that isn't even real. What it does is, like you said, it's eventually you get let down so many times that you're forced to go within. But what it also does is it recalibrates your bullshit meter, your intuition. There's a lesson in it for you. And you realize, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't matter what they're saying, if we're being tricked or not, whatever, because you can't stop it. Like, it's happening in full force, everywhere you look, everywhere you turn. You can run around, saying, don't follow this person, or don't follow this person, or stop listening to this, blah, blah. What's it going to do for you? You're feeding your energy. You're still giving that shill attention because you're feeding your energy.
Yeah. So that's why, I mean, it's like, we're not being asked to all of a sudden be perfect discerners and super advanced intuitives. We're being asked to start practicing every day to the best of our ability, following our inner guidance ourselves, and noticing what we notice. And if we get tricked, it's like, oh, wow, they tricked that. Wow, that one really got me. I wonder why did that? And then we can grow by being curious about it. It's like, how come I was tricked with that? It's like, and when more and more people start waking up, we shouldn't be in the stance of shaming them and I told you soing them. We should be in the stance of like, wow, what's that experience like for you? What were you feeling when you believed it? And what do you feel now that you know the truth? How's that helping you grow? Could we temper ourselves and have compassion for ourselves and everybody as we're going through this thing?
Yeah. And a good indicator too. Because some people are like, well, how do I know who to follow? I don't want to, like, how do you know? Right. And there's like indicators, like if somebody's confident in what they're putting out, confident in their product or whatever, you don't need to defend it. But then there's people out here defending their narrative, like so much to the point where they're calling other people out. Like, why do you have to do that? If what you're saying is true, that's all that should matter. So like, if you're not confident in what you're putting out, I feel like that may be a red flag to look for.
Ego identification too. I'm going to say, like, at what point does our ego start getting identified with what we're saying, and then we feel that much more attached to it being right? Because if your ego is attached to what you're saying, then if the information's wrong, then you're wrong, and then nobody likes to be wrong because we've been so punished for wrong and right in this culture. There's this battle over who's right and who's wrong. And what if we could instead be curious? I mean, I like the word curious a lot right now. Like, instead of trying to fight over who's right and who's wrong, could we expand the container and get super curious about what's actually happening here with these differing points of view? Right.
And then there's also the the reality of some people actually believing what they're putting out, and they don't realize that they're being fooled. So
Yeah.
you have it's tricky, you know. You may be getting information from a certain individual, and that individual might be playing you and you don't know it, and then you're giving updates to your audience and to your followers, and you believe in your core this is exactly what's happening. And so we have that going on too, like on all levels. This is tricky.
It is. And then some of the, I mean, it can even step down to this person and this person and this person. They all believed it was true. And only this guy appears one who knows that they set it in motion, you know? So then it's like that self monitoring prison system kind of thing, or that, you know, self-regulating enforcement of mind control, mind police stuff. Because people, the shaming for people having a different concept right now is off the charts. It's
horrible.
Yeah.
It really is.
Which is why the solution to all this is go within, and you build your own wisdom and discernment and soul growth, essentially, and these things will start working themselves out on their own. But like if we're trying to look externally to fix all our problems all the time and means you're giving your power away to whether it's people, a narrative, a religion, whatever, then you're never gonna be looking within. Because if you're looking externally, what are you not doing? You're not looking within. You're not growing from within. You're trying to solve all your problems by what's going on externally, which is that's not how it works, right? It's the opposite. So the good part about all this is it's causing a lot of people to go through these lessons of that, where their egos and their hope is being crushed by, you know, things they've clung to on the external not working out or not going the way they thought, or lies that are coming out about things they thought were true, you know, things they believe.
Aaron did just say it's a good thing that your hopes and ego gets crushed.
It is. It is. It sucks when it happens, but
I know.
Ultimately, it is, because what is it causing you to do? It's causing you to stop giving your power away, go within, and that's what it's all about, you know. Anyway,
it puts you in check. Yeah, it puts you in check.
Have you guys heard of this guy named Jared Rand talk about this?
I know Jared Rand. He talks about the med beds a lot. Right?
Yeah, he talks about the med beds, and he talks about the bicameral mind. And he says something. He says humanity 3,000 years ago actually emerged out of the bicameral mind, but this other group kind of swooped in and kept them stuck. And the bicameral mind means they want to look outside. They want to look for outside authority instead of looking within. And I mean, it's literally an initiation for humanity to realize that we don't need to. That the only answer isn't from outside authority, that actually the answers come from within. And as each of us goes within to find the answers, we can harmonize everything so rapidly. Once we actually catch on to this, it'll be mind-boggling how rapidly things can change.
Exactly.
Well, like I said, exactly, right? And I said earlier, there's finger pointing, but what that is people acting out their wounds, their unhealed traumas. And I was listening to Laura Eisenhower the other day, and she said something that I like so much. I wrote it down. I'm going to quote it because it was perfect for this. She said, acting out our wounds and projecting them on others is why psychological operations and trigger events are so successful. They know they're banking on us doing that. They know we're unhealed. They know we're all over the place, and we're going to act out our wounds, and we're going to project them onto other people. And now, boom, they got division. You're arguing with people. You're in disagreements. Like you said, you're constantly outside of yourself. Even whenever you start putting your energy into looking for these people who are tricking us, you're still outside of yourself. It can really make you go crazy, actually. And go ahead, Chiraya.
One of my teachers back in my 20s, he very firmly taught me, look for the needle in the haystack. So he let me know there is no source of absolute truths out here in this world right now. Like there isn't one group or one text or one philosophy or one set of people who absolutely have it all down pat, that are out here in the public sharing anyway. Like maybe there are some masters in the Himalayas or whatever, people who remain very quiet to do their thing on the planet, who actually know what's up. But they're not, like, we have to look for the needle in the haystack. Like we've got to literally practice our discernment and pluck out the jewels and feel what feels resonant, and not try to make it black and white. Like this is all right, like throwing the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. Well, there may be a shred of truth here and a shred of truth there. In fact, that's how psychological like disinformation campaigns get done, is by putting a bunch of truth and then a couple of key things that are not true right in the mix to sort of send people off on another tangent.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's the way, 90% truth, 10% disinfo, but the 10% is the most dangerous. And that's how they pulled off. And that could be said, I mean, just about everything we thought we knew at this point is turning out to be a sham, turning out to be wrong. History, everything. So this has been their forte the whole time,
Them.
Yeah. It's the big thing in psychological operations is the emotional manipulation of it, because they know we are emotional creatures. And if we're not in our sovereignty, what are we doing? Our emotions are being triggered by things outside of us, by things being told to us, by what we think is happening. So if they can be like, okay, we know exactly what to say, what events to create, whatever to do to trigger certain emotions and people that will serve us doing things that serve their agenda, they're gonna do that over and over and over again. And they know, they've been studying us for a long time. They know exactly what buttons to press. They know exactly what things to do that will cause us to react emotionally without using discernment, without, we basically are shutting off our discernment when we do that, and we're just reacting emotionally.
Well, they're trigger events, and half the society, half the world is programmed to respond to those. And they know that, and that's how they pull off these false flags and all that stuff. And
it just really sucks, because it's like they're using one of the most beautiful things of humanity, which is our caring for each other, and our caring for the planet, and our wanting to be good people, and our wanting to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it does. But
well, there's and they're using diversity against us too. Like diversity is a gift. It's a beautiful thing. Our differences, like to be able to have friends from all different cultures and races and all this stuff, is a beautiful thing. But they don't want that, obviously. And it's just, so they're trying to make our differences a problem instead of making our differences something special. Like we're all on a highway in different lanes with our complete differences, but we're all going to the same place essentially. And that doesn't make one person better than the other. We're just on our own paths.
They want us to think other people, or certain other people, are the cause of the problems in the world, or the cause of our problems, and to fight them, or to be angry at them, or to be angry at whatever politicians or whatever, instead of realizing what's really going on. And
a small number of people, relatively speaking, have been the man behind the curtain, and they're the ones who've been messing with everyone. It's like, enough is enough. Honestly, we're getting to the level where that's just not going to fly anymore. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you have hope for the future? Do you think we're going to make it through this thing? What are your thoughts about that?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think yes, absolutely. But I think it might take a little longer than we all thought. And it's not going to look like what we had hoped. But
it's not a smooth ride. That's the thing where people just assume, oh, it's going to just, the truth's going to be revealed. And it's going to be bumped.
Honestly, I was naive when I came into this awakening. What do? You're going about your life. You like have this awakening. You hear about all this corruption, and then you hear all this news like, oh, wait, we're winning. It's almost over. All right. When's this happening? And then you jump on board, and then you realize, okay, it's not playing out that way. So it's turning out to be not as glamorous as it's once seemed for all of us. And it's going to be a rough ride. And there's a lot more work involved. In a way, going through an awakening almost makes you, it's like, it's a way of bypassing also, because what happened with me is that I thought, okay, cool. here's all this information. Here's what I know is where I belong, all this stuff. I'm just going to leave my old me behind and just sweep it under the rug. And I thought, oh, here's this new awakened me. I'm going through all this spiritual stuff, blah, blah, blah. And all that stuff starts creeping back up. It's not an excuse. Like, people think that it's an excuse to just like ignore everything that you had done prior to your awakening. And all that stuff comes back to haunt you. But I do like right now that, because at the beginning of the awakening, it was like we're trying to warn people and tell people, hey, the government is evil. The government is evil. Now we don't have to tell them because they see it. Like, so that party argument is done for us, you know?
People have to be, well, what did 17 say? You know, people have to be, you can't just tell people, they have to be shown, which is another way of saying, like, you can't just do everything for people, because then they don't learn the lessons. They don't go through the experience. They don't truly learn. They don't truly grow. So that's what's happening right now, is we're going through the craziness because that's how we grow. That's how we learn the lessons. You can't just, and that's why the ETs can't just come in and clean up everything 100%. They're doing everything they can, and they're supporting us in so many ways, but they can't just clean up everything, because then we're not going to grow at all. We're not going to learn at all, you know, if they do that. Or if anyone,
these are hard. It's like, you know, it's like, can we like that part of us that just wants everything to be easy? Could we question that? Could we question the psychological operation we've done on ourselves to make us think that everything is supposed to be easy? Because actually the hard stuff is where we grow the most, quite honestly. And we have a major challenge right now, and you could even call it a crisis. And it is a massive opportunity for each and every single human being to step up the plate to whatever they're supposed to do from their source and their inner self. And that can be very scary. And you have to go through a lot to even get to the place sometimes where you can do that. But I mean, I think you all and I, you know, we want to empower everyone to really figure out what that is inside of you, and to really step in to what you're meant to do. And it could be, doesn't have to be something public. It could be something private. It could be something just within. It could be something massive, you know, but it's different for each one of us. But what's holding us back, what fears or griefs or challenges, or because it's hard, is holding us from doing that? And could we question those things and actually get support to move beyond it and step into what we're meant to be doing here, each of us?
Yeah, and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself, because let's be honest, we lie to ourselves sometimes. We try and tell ourselves that something in our life, something happening in our life isn't a problem when it really is. And we ignore that stuff. And that's where, you know, you're like, I'm doing all the work, but why am I still struggling? Well, you know, take a step back and really be honest with yourself. Like, analyze, evaluate your surroundings, evaluate your daily life, and what are you doing every day, and what's helping you and what isn't. And then you'll start, and even if you had to make a list, you'll know what things don't benefit you anymore, and those are the things that are holding you back. But you have to be honest about it. You know, you can create an excuse why you still need caffeine every day, or why you need this every day. And I'm not saying caffeine is like the end all be all thing that's going to lead you to ascension, you know. Just, well, you know, what's the phrase? Caffeinate so you can't meditate. Like, it's like, that's also an agenda. Why do you think caffeine is so pushed? Because once we're constantly wired, we can't ever silence
caffeine
our mind.
and alcohol are both pushed.
Yeah,
to get the upper and the downer, and or just diet. You could just say diet in general and group that into that, because like David Wilcock just talked about in his recent live, that's one of the biggest weapons that they use against us is the diet, is the food, that, you know, the GMOs, everything else that they pushed on us.
Well, it's literal poison.
Yeah, and you can't think clearly. Your body's not operating how it should be. Your energetic field, your energy is off. Like, it affects you on like all levels, really, which a lot of people don't realize. Yeah. So that's a huge,
massive healing to do with all that, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, socially, financially.
Yeah.
Every way, every part of our lives, is up for healing and recalibration. And it's kind of like, it's almost like we have to start the healing a little bit before we're even through the trauma, which ideally there's a beginning, middle, end to the trauma, and then you go feel it. But we're like, it's just, there's so much information being released that's just traumatic just to even hear it, and then that's not going to stop anytime soon, from what I can tell. That's going to crescendo more and more. And there's going to be waves of waking up, and waves of going through all the processes of grief and reconciliation and healing.
If what I think is going on underground is actually happening, and we actually get disclosure of that, then there's no way it doesn't get worse. Yeah. You know what I mean? If some of this stuff that we hear about is truly real and is actually happening with the children and all of this stuff, and we start getting glimpses of it, and it starts surfacing, like, man, you think like these jab videos are like traumatizing, wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and that's just one thing. And that's one of the worst though. And that's going to be, yeah, you're right. People are basically, you could just say the more truth that comes out, the more it like traumatizing it is, because that's how crazy the stuff that's been going on for so long on the planet has been. Well, and it's kind of like we're going through a collective dark night of the soul, basically.
Yeah,
it's like
we are.
Reality is coming to surface, and we're having to deal with it.
Some of us have gotten into it a little bit ahead of the curve for the purpose of being a catcher's mitt as everybody else starts getting this, because the cognitive dissonance itself can be very woozy. So if there's people listening out there who are experiencing that kind of, I don't know what to believe, I feel woozy, I don't understand. It's when you've believed a certain whole narrative, and then all of a sudden you start getting inroads into how actually that might not be true. It can be very shaking. It shakes the psychological structure and the personality structure, and we need to be gentle with ourselves as we go through these things, and gentle with others who are getting ready to have that happen to themselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
Got to be understanding that some people are going to fall for this stuff.
Yeah.
There's people out there that are almost belittling people for following somebody that turns out to be a shill or something, and it's like, why do you have to be a dick about it? Like, where's your heart? Like, it's just like we all fall for this stuff,
Yeah, let's have compassion on people.
Yeah. Like, literally, this person uses term like calling people losers and idiots for falling for this stuff. I'm like, well,
that's part of the best part of the other energy. I mean, that's literally what the other energy does, is it believes, it pushes down, it makes people feel bad about themselves and question their own self-worth. So, whatever that person is, they might want to look at what energy is running them right now. The people who are doing that.
Yeah.
Do I have some kind of boogeyman on my back who's whispering to say these mean things to people? Because that's part of that old energy that we really don't choose. I mean, I'm going to say for myself, I don't want in my life anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. And then what happens is you have 60,000 followers, and then your followers start mimicking that behavior, and you have all of this toxicity now. And it's like, okay, where is this getting anybody? Anyway.
And then some people who are being like, just look at how many people have been scandalized who may not have deserved it, entirely. Like, that's one of the psychological operations, is to smear campaigns. And that could even be happening in some of these places. Like, maybe some of these people are bringing the truth, but they've just got so much dirt poured on top of them that everybody now believes that they were a shill or something. It could even be that kind of, or maybe they're mixed. Maybe they think they know stuff, but they have mixed stuff going on that they're not aware of. And so they're putting out part true, part false information, but they don't know, and they're innocent, and then they might have the other guys over here literally getting paychecks. I mean, we don't know what we don't know about.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. And that's where this gets confusing, and the waters are muddy right now. And it's really hard, even for us going through, it's hard to know what's what. And it's disheartening sometimes, because just when you think something might be real, you find out, okay, I need to step back and reevaluate yet again. And It gets disheartening, but I don't know where I was trying to go with that. So what do you suggest? Because I guess going within is the final answer, because it's so confusing. Literally, like, you nailed it. Like, some people might be telling truth. You have somebody else calling them out saying they're a shill. They might actually be telling the truth. They're not a shill, but the person calling them out is the actual shill. For the next person, it might be the other way around. And then it's just all mixed and mashed and hodgepodge mess, you know?
I think what we all need to do is reach up and grab our sword of truth.
Yeah.
And like use that thing and like literally like a tool. Like, I'm in my inner tool, my sword of truth. I'm pointing it to something going, what's true and false about this? I'm curious. I really just want to know. Inner being, could you please show me what's true and what's false? Reveal what I need to know. Like, that's one of the prayers that I've been saying is, Creator, show me, high self, Creator, whatever you call God, show me what I need to know today to make really good decisions and to comprehend and understand that which needs me to know about it in order to be able to move forward in the most productive, powerful, positive, and helpful way today. Like, what else? We don't really have much else besides that, really. It's like, show me what I need to know today, the knowing of which will move me forward in a way that I can be on team humanity in a supportive way, and in my own life, to support my life, to support and benefit my family, my community, my friends. Like, show me that one thing that I need to know that's true, the knowing of which will reveal all this to me.
So I just saw Barry Everson's comment. He said, stop shilling and start chilling. That's
Yes.
perfect, right?
Perfect.
And you know, the best way to chill is to do exactly what you said. Worry about today, the present. Don't dwell on the past. Don't worry about the future. Worrying about the future is the definition of anxiety. Dwelling on the past it gets you nowhere, right? There's things to learn from it. Learn it, process, don't ignore it. Do what you need to do, but be in the present. Today, what can I do right now? If you have a 5-year plan of all these things you want to do, that's so much overhead. That's so much anxiety. You're actually going to create lack, and you're never even going to be able to take the next step.
Yeah. And then, along with this, we have the sword of truth, but then we also have the shield of innocence, because, we have, if you can think about it as divine mother, divine father, or wisdom and compassion, like, give me the discernment that I need with the sword of truth, and give me the self-worth and self-love that I need with the shield of innocence, to know that I didn't intend to come here and jack myself up and get in all this trouble and be tricked and duped and
yeah, right.
At least I don't think that's what I intended. But either way, I trying to go create a crazy life for myself. I'm innocent. And we're on a soul's growth journey, but that original soul spark within us, that essence of who we really are as spirit, that is where we need to go and take refuge and love ourselves unconditionally for all the amazing journeys that we've had as a soul, culminating in this really pretty epic situation here on the planet. So what if we could pick up a sense of adventure too, and kind of like, become super, super curious and take this as an initiation that we're in. Like, what if every day we woke up and like, wow, I wonder what's going to happen in this initiation that I'm in today, to see truth and embrace that other side, like the light and the dark. Is it good? Is it bad? Or are they working together? I mean, and there's like the positive good, the positive light, the positive dark, the negative dark, the positive light, the negative light. You've got this whole matrix of stuff to sort out, and it's an adventure if we let it be, quite honestly.
It is. Well, absolutely. It's all, then now you're getting into perspective and perception, right? It's all how you perceive it and what you make of it. And real quick, Phil Christophers, thank you so much for the donation. And he donated with a comment, beacon of light. Beacon of light is what I will be. Exactly. And there's a reason we're all spread out. All of us starseeds are all spread out all over the globe, and none of us live next to each other, because we are the beacon of light in our hometown, in that area. We are anchoring the light, and we might be doing way more than we can even comprehend just by being ourselves.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Just by being us and becoming aware something might be off, like looking at someone talking and going, is that real? Right there, you just did something for the human race.
Yeah, like, is that a real president. You're right. And Tiffany said, be children again. Yeah. Don't like, I keep seeing monarch butterflies every day because, well, they're all traveling south. Actually, that's a fascinating, it's fascinating how the monarch butterflies migrate south. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The message from the butterfly is, don't take things so seriously. And I've been seeing them every day, and it's a constant reminder, like, relax. Like, anytime I start worrying about something, I'm just like, why? I'm only making this a problem in my own head right now, and we don't want to consent to the fear, like reject the fear, and that's how we win,
And yeah, I had a dream too, similar to what you guys are saying. My dream was I was driving this bus, and it was kind of probably like a spaceship or whatever, but it was like, the idea was I was driving the bus into Mother Earth, and Mother Earth for me in that dream was this house at the bottom of a hill that was the driveway, and there's this yard over here, and then there's the house down below. So as I'm pulling in, I start going downhill, and I absolutely lose control of every part of that bus. I got no brakes, I got no steering, I got no lights, and I was like, whoa. And then we're just like heading down to about to careen into the house, and you're just like, oh. And then right at the end, the bus curls up in the yard of its own accord at the end. And so, I mean, I think you guys nailed it earlier, that we're on a ride that's can't really be stopped, and we don't necessarily have a lot of control over it, like, it is going to play itself out. And I mean, I vote our victory. I vote us into doing more and more each day of these proactive things that we're talking about, and really taking our own responsibility, taking up the mantle of responsibility where each of us is today. Like, for some people, that might be, my mantle of responsibility is to see through some BS today. Like, that's all I need to do. If I see through some BS today, I'm doing good. Other people might be, my responsibility is to teach a course on something that's going to help everybody through this, or, whatever. It's like, just be where we are and take the next step and the next step and the next step, and keep loving ourselves no matter what. Like, that's,
and
huge,
you know what else is helpful is to stay grounded right now.
Yeah.
I found, I'm always researching, looking up stuff, doing stuff on the computer, whatever, and it gets chaotic, and then I start getting caught up in this stuff. I'll admit it. It happens. And somebody, Reiki healer, looked at me, and she was like, your body is like your astral, I don't know how she said it, your aura is like a foot out of your body right now. Like, you're not grounded at all. However she worded it, she's like, you need to ground. Like, you have got to ground, get away from this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, we forget sometimes. We forget that it's so important. And like, going to put your feet on the ground just for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, like, it's unbelievable. Do that and do some conscious breathing. It's amazing the type of reset it'll give you.
The solutions are so simple that we overlook them.
Yeah.
We're trained to overlook such simplicity and the beauty of nature, and just tuning within and sitting, being still.
The beauty of nature, right? That's another thing. We always say this. That's a huge one for me lately. The weather's been perfect. Go outside and just appreciate it, because there's something funny about nature. Like, we can't live without nature, right? And here we are destroying it, but nature can do just fine without us. What does that tell you? Like, nature does not need humans, but we need nature to live. So that should tell you everything you need to know about why we should be appreciating the beauty and respecting it, taking care of our planet. And I don't know, you get where I'm going.
Destroying ourselves and nature simultaneously. But of course, this all goes back to the people controlling have been manipulating it to be that way. So it's like manipulation of free will, but still that is what's happening.
Yeah, they're blaming humanity for what they set in motion. So I think one part of what we're waking up to is the fact of how we've been blamed for the bad stuff that these guys have done, these other beings have done.
That's like a big giant narcissist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we
psychopath narcissist.
Like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Human beings are so bad. We've just, the earth's going to kick us off like a bunch of flies. How many times have you heard people say that? Or I used to think that myself. It's like, well, wait a second. Who's actually doing the polluting out there, and who thought it was a good idea to put all these toxic chemicals into things?
Right.
Who's running all these corporations? Who's
Yeah.
who's really at the top of all that? Yeah, and it's all comes back to the same group.
Oh,
Which
something
goes on the ET level ultimately, above humans.
Yeah,
really gets. If you want to really get the truth, you have to go galactic, and you have to go spiritual in both levels.
Walkabout with Kira said, nature has no idea there's a pandemic. That's where I find my normal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true. If you didn't have a TV, if you were living off grid somewhere, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. If they never made a news report about it in January of last year, we would never know.
You hear about Amish people caring about this at all, or being affected, but no. Looking for that side of that system.
Which is a really good point, because as we're learning this discernment lesson, part of our discernment is kind of what you guys have been like. You have to snooze the news at a certain point. Like, when do we know enough to know that something's happening, and then how are we going to redirect our energy over and our attention to the good stuff, not from denial and running away from what is, but from knowing how reality actually works. Like, when we know enough to know that our thoughts and feelings on behalf of not only our own lives, but for the planet itself, I'll anchor the dream, which I've been doing since 2005. We focus consciousness towards what we want to create together. That is hugely impactful on the field.
When do we snooze the news? I like that. And there are certain people who their channels and their stuff is based on breaking down the news. Like, we all play a part in this, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody is at a different level. So at a certain level of your journey, you are gonna be paying attention to the news, and you want to know what's going on. And then you get to the next stepping stone, the next level, where it's not so important anymore, but you kind of want to pay attention. Eventually, I guess the ultimate goal is like end up in a cave somewhere and working on reaching your light body. No, not really. But when do you snooze the news? I like that.
You snooze the snoozies. That's my new favorite way to call the news. The mainstream media is the snoozies.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's like,
I just call it propaganda.
Like, even though I've had this conversation 25 times and you're still watching mainstream media, I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I don't have cable or even regular TV. I don't even have the option to watch it anymore. I got rid of it, but it blows my mind if I go to a restaurant or in an airport and I see the news, CNN or whatever is on, what's being reported. It is so mind-boggling. I'm
insane.
Oh my God, this is horrifying.
Like, this is what people are watching and believing.
Yeah.
And getting riled up by.
And I'm like, that is everything on that screen is lie. It's all fabricated. There's not any semblance of reality left. It is 100% a machine that is a propaganda machine that is manipulating you and controlling you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And what do they say? You can drag a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's like each person is at their level that they're at, right? And is there anything wrong with that? No, of course not. We're all where we're at because that's where we are. You can't go round and round and round with it, but it's like there's no right or wrong about what level of awakening someone is at. They just are there. And so when they ask, or when there's people who know more about us than we do, and we ask, then they will give us like an answer. They will support us when we ask. And so we've got to give the same respect to others. Yes. Really, and let them come to us and start asking once. And unfortunately, it's getting super uncomfortable, and bad things are happening along the way to get us there. And so that's where we have to kind of rely on our eternal nature and know that on a certain level, this is all a Maya and a play on multiple levels. Like, it's a play it's like we're watching the movie down here on Earth, but then in the bigger sense, the whole thing is a big drama for our growth and evolution, and we're eternal beings. So have to keep relying on that spiritual essence to get us through this thing here.
Bingo. Absolutely. So tell everybody what you have coming up. So guys, Chiraya is getting ready to present at the Portal to Ascension Summit conference this weekend on Saturday, I believe. And she has a few webinars or workshops coming up. Why don't you tell us about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So portaltoascension.com has a 44-person summit. It's like their I think he's doing more than one a year now. Our friend Neil Gar, shout out to Neil.
Neil, what up, Neil?
You.
All the
Love
awesome
Neil.
meetings he's pulled together again. Yeah.
That
So-
dude puts in some work. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
he does.
I honestly don't even know how he does it.
I don't know either. It's like mind-boggling. But and he and I are also doing a whole. This is it, sort of in addition. I'll get back to that other part, but we're doing a whole ancient history. Aaron, you've been speaking about pointing to the ancient history quite a bit. We're going to do a number of them, starting with the Mayan civilization. This coming October 10th, the following weekend, actually, is the Mayan Civilization Conference. And then next year, we've got a whole bunch like the Indus Valley, Tartaria, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Looking forward to that, actually.
really,
Very nice.
really cool. And then this weekend, so yeah, we have 4 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, of panels and talks by a bunch of different people, including myself. And I'm one of the hosts, so I'm going to be interviewing a few people. And then I'm also doing a presentation to take us deeper into this conversation. I'm calling it the yin side of Ascension. So we're going to get into the yin side of Ascension on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's a short presentation, and then I'm going to do, but it's going to be power packed, because basically that presentation is the fruit of my own inner labor of sorting through all this stuff this last couple of years in my own personal inner crisis from dealing with, just like all of us have been having that dark night of the soul kind of thing happening with this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the fruits of my labor there. And then on Tuesday, we're going to follow up. I think it's 2 p.m. Pacific. It's $22. You can get it. You can find it on the site. It's called.
I have all the links below in the description right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so people just can find it down there. But basically, what we're going to do is a whole lot of energy clearing. We're gonna do the best we can to clear as much of the trauma from all this gaslighting and lies out of our mind, body, spirit complex as we possibly can. And when we get together and do that, it's powerful. It's very powerful, because basically, energy clearing is. When we know what we need to clear, all we have to do is ask for it to be cleared. And then there's ways to know that it is clearing. And we're going to do that. We're going to do some work done.
People are getting excited about Tartaria in the chat. We have one guy says he's an expert on it. Barry says he's fascinated by it. Me too. It's like the never ending rabbit hole. It's like, it really is like, you never hit the bottom of that one.
It just popped up a couple, like 4 years ago. And I was like,
not that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, woo, we thought they were lying about things that were thousands of years old being actually millions of years old. But now it turns out there's things that actually happened recently that they're trying to pretend never happened.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What is going on? Anyway.
And then expect to see that again with even like basic UFO disclosure type of stuff. Like the reports we're getting now, they're forgetting about everything that happened in the 40s and 50s, 60s.
They're trying to pretend like almost the whole history of ufology didn't happen.
Yeah.
At all.
It's really, if you look at the new reports, they're not even mentioning all the stuff. And we have stacks of books on basically facts at this point, stuff we know and can verify that happened, and it's kind of undeniable. And then they're trying to erase that already.
Yeah.
And then who knows, if they keep going at the rate they're going and nothing changes, it will be forgotten.
Book censoring, YouTube. I mean, they've got a long-term plan in mind, but I think enough of us are onto it right now that, it's not, once we know on a soul level.
That's why, guys, keep your books, though. Everybody who's got books about this stuff, keep it, because it is a modern day book burning. And if the information lies solely online, that's a problem. It
is. And can't you see how that's all part of the deal?
Mm-hmm.
Another little strategy being worked there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. That's why
they're trying to stop the spread of any information that's going to, be dangerous to the narratives. Well,
certain books, a lot of these books are being pulled out of the libraries. Aaron, you bought a David Wilcock book that said it was, what did it say?
I have Sourcefield Investigations, his first book. It said it was like I forget the word, but basically like they got rid of it from whatever library it was in. And it's like, well, why do they get rid of it?
Yeah.
It's
Like
pretty obvious, right?
You're the lib. What?
They're calling it dangerous information.
Yeah, it's dangerous information. Yeah.
Dangerous if you guys knew about this stuff that we don't want you to know about because we want to kill you. You know, it's like, come on, guys.
We are the arbiters of truth and what you can and can't see, and you can't use. Yeah, don't use your own discernment. Let us tell you what's true.
You remember did you guys ever see the movie Master of Disguise? Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a really cheesy movie.
Speaking of the mom in the kitchen, she'd been captured by the bad guys, and they set her up and they drugged her to make her think she was just at home in her kitchen. So they got this kitchen set up, and she's like, pretending like she's drugged. And then this hand reaches up to try to grab her, and she's like, bam! And then she goes back along pretending like she's, that's kind of like where we're at right now, I think.
Yeah. Right.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
And that's actually, it's not even an analogy, it's a reality, because that is happening with entities and stuff. We just talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Fine. And you can do that. You just be like, like that Weekend at Bernie's clip that I played. A guy tries to rob him at gunpoint. He goes, "Get that shit out of here. It's too hot." And he just like keeps walking. Yeah.
I'm a no that. I'm a no. My field, I'm not allowing that in my field. And we just say what we get to say, what we want in our field.
Yeah.
We do. Yes, that's how we operate.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Well, this has been a great chat. Really, it's been a lot of fun. We covered a lot, and I think some people, I know that this conversation needed to be had. Even for me, a lot of stuff I think about. It's nice to get it all out and have a conversation about it. So thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and thank you guys for being on the path, being the spiritual warriors that you are, and being willing to get out here and open the conversations and do your mighty work. I really appreciate it.
Right. Thank you. No, yeah, it's a passion at this point. There's no turning back.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. But so guys, make sure you check out her conference this weekend if you want. The workshops, all those links are below. Don't forget, speaking of the play, the stage, the movie, our promo code for Teespring is CGI Joe, and that gets you 15% off of all of our merchandise, which does include the new conference t-shirt. Go check that out. Tickets for the conference are available below next May 2nd through the 5th. There's too much stuff to remember. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks to the moderators. Thanks for the donations. Any last words from either of you guys before we wrap this up? And time's up.
Right.
Keep loving yourself and be willing to get super curious and call this an adventure of the lifetime. Like, let's do that. What if we put that head on? I'm having the adventure of a lifetime here every day on this crazy planet. Wow. What if we had that? What if we put those goggles on?
So just replace the word pandemic with adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the answer.
I survived 2020 to 2021.
Yeah.
T-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You say go within. Sum up everything.
Right.
Go within and live from your heart and be the change you want to see.
Is there anything else we have to announce? I don't know. I don't think so. I can't think of anything. Next week is going to be interesting. We'll be talking about reptilians, vampires, and royal bloodlines. It's going to be something we've never really broken down and gotten too deep into. We obviously have talked about it. But yeah, anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. So thank you guys. We're going to go ahead and call it a night. We will see you next time. Have a great evening.
Bye, everybody. Blessings.
Night, guys.